Right. Well, maybe to give a more concrete example so that, people who maybe don't know very much about this will be able to get some context. The head or the founder of the Heritage, I don't know if it's the founder, but the current president of the Heritage Foundation, Kevin Roberts, he has ties to Opus Dei. He is a right-wing, extreme Catholic, I guess. He is a Catholic, but I'm not trying to put down Catholicism, but his brand of extreme Catholicism is quite dangerous. He has spoken in many interviews about how he would want to rebrand the Department of Health to the Department of Life. So not mentioning, any sort of reproductive rights for women or for other people, for transgender, for LGBTQ people. And his language is very, very militaristic. It's very violent. Can you give more context as to who Kevin Roberts is, who's behind Project 2025?
Let me just make it try without trying to drill down on Roberts or people like Charlie Kirk. I'm sure you know who he is or whatever. These are leading people that have been fostering the concept of Christian nationalism they didn't come up with this idea last Tuesday. It's been going around for decades. Opus Dei is connected with Catholicism. We're not knocking Catholicism. I think it's 1/4 of our 95% of our, I said over 89,000, almost 90,000 clients are Catholics. We're talking about the kind of Catholicism that Hudson, the father of Mel Gibson, Hudson Gibson and Mel Gibson tend to follow. And as you said, it's extremely dangerous. Without trying to get into specific personalities, these are people that have been around for a very, very, very long time that have been looking for ways in which to influence every atom or molecule, neutron and electron of our lives to drive it to this concept of, again, weaponized Christianity, which is very digital, 1 and 0. You accept our version of Christianity or you don't have a right to exist. And we'll take all of your rights away and we'll see where that ends up. Remember, 2025 talks about massive deportations. You heard J.D. Vance the other day, the presumptive vice presidential candidate, say, let's start with 1 million. Really, let's start with 1 million and then we'll see where it goes. Remember what Trump said, he lies like he reflects light, circulates blood and breathes, but he said he won't be a dictator except starting on day one. What do you want to see? What more do you want to understand? Again, no one's going to sit down and read a 920-page, 30-chapter report. But you can see Project 2025 is everywhere. They're not trying to hide it. Their view is that if we say that it's good, we being MAGA, then you're going to fall in line and say, yeah, it must be wonderful. It must be great. Even though Trump tried to distance himself from it, which shows you how closely tied it is because it terrified him. He was afraid to be tarred and feathered with this. And now the roosters are coming home and it doesn't sit quite as pretty. That's the purpose of this interview. So when I talk about expanding the rights of chaplains of the military, that means everybody else to follow the dictates of their basic tenets of their particular faith. And it sounds beautiful. Why can't they just follow it? Chaplains are there to provide or to perform services. If they can't perform a service, they got to go find some other way to provide it. It is not a mission field for them to convert. And yet they are supported by large numbers of the chain of command, the same entities that follow nuclear weapons. And I want to give you an example. I got permission from a client today who contacted us. This client is a graduate of a military camp. He serves in a position involving the direct stewardship of nuclear weapons at a large installation. I won't tell you where the installation is. I will tell you that he came to us because he was extremely upset that there was a history briefing being given by one of the commander's very close friends, who is a history buff in a local town that is almost adjoined to where the installation is. It's been that way for well over 1.5 centuries. And turns out the commander goes to this off-base mega church. It's a Christian nationalist church, very misogynistic, just falls right in line with everything with MAGA. And this buddy is a history buff. So the commander brought him in to give a history presentation to the assembled troops that were there for some other command reason. They talked about the history of the installation, which goes back, to the mid-19th century. When it got to the late 1860s and 1870s, the commander's handpicked history expert indicated that the job of the installation at that time was not nuclear. There were no nuclear weapons there, as there are now. It was to domesticate the hostile Sioux nation, this Sioux, and to bring them to the joys of Christianity. the grace of Christianity. Now, I want you to think about how offensive that would be, particularly if you're a member of the Sioux Nation and you're an officer and you're attending there and you went to a military academy, because that's our client. He had to sit there, domesticate the hostile Sioux Nation and bring them to the grace of Jesus Christ. That was on the PowerPoint. If that doesn't bother you, then turn the damn thing off. Get the fuck out of here. I don't want to see you if you don't understand. I'm not running for election. I'm not looking for your vote. That's not the purpose of me deciding to put valuable time into this interview with Talia on the analysis. So our client came to us because he did complain to the commander. The commander told him, look, this sounds to me like you don't like history. It sounds a little bit like critical race theory. And I mean, I guess you don't like the fact that perhaps it was the fact that you are Native American that helped you get into the military academy that he went to. Do you people understand how fucking offensive that is? Do I need to babble along more to explain that? So we are going to engage on this, I can assure you. On top of this, there's an actual instruction in this particular branch of the military that talks right to this very point. It doesn't make a difference. They'll violate all of these directives, instructions, regulations anyway. But you can imagine if you're a member of the Sioux Nation and a graduate of one of our nation's 3 major military academies, and you have a specific nuclear weapon responsibility, and you're getting a history lesson during a commander's call from the commander's handpicked historian who goes to his mega evangelical Christian nationalist church off base, and there you see it in the late 1860s and 1870s, the wars against the various wars against the Sioux Nation, the hostile Sioux Nation. We needed to domesticate them, like you domesticate wolves or wild dogs or feral cats, and bring them to the grace of Jesus Christ. There was nothing more this officer could do. He came to us. There are others that are now supporting him, and we will now roll in on this. And we're going to win it. We win about 98% of the time. Most of our clients do not want us to talk about this. They don't want to give their names or whatever. They fear reprisal and retribution. Project 2025 supports this commander in saying, well, this sounds like you don't like just basic history. The commander even said something that's true. He said, when MacArthur took over command of Japan after we dropped the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, he said, what I need are 1 million Christian missionaries and 10,000 Christian missionaries and 1 million New Testaments. And MacArthur did say that. And this commander tried to tie it right in there historically. Now, if you think MacArthur was right, then you've got another thing coming.